Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Wrench Restorations and what I believe is the 6th episode of Retro Restorations, where we jump in the time machine and head back to past restorations we did before I started my YouTube channel. So 99% of what we do is tractors, but I also like just some good vintage farm machinery. So with that being said, let's check out today's Retro Restoration. So, what you're looking at here is the remains of a 1950s model John Deere Model L Series 51 manure spreader. So, I happen to be browsing through Marketplace, which is the thing that seems to always get me in trouble, and I found this manure spreader, and it had the amazing price of free. Well, if I haven't learned my lesson yet, nothing's free, and free turns out to usually be expensive. But I had to save this thing. So the people that were getting rid of it were moving out of town and needed it out of the yard or the property. So this was a solo rescue. I went down there, I didn't know what to expect, and I ended up finding that this manure spreader was filled with manure. Now, fortunately, it was pretty much dry, but I was able to borrow a shovel from the people who were kind enough to let me shovel this spreader load of horse manure out onto their property, because I sure wasn't taking it with me. And it took me a pretty good amount of time to get it done. And the people were making trips back and forth to their storage unit, and I vaguely remember them coming back and saying, "Geez, you got that shoveled out pretty quick. Did you find the copperhead nest?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And they said, "Yeah, there was a copperhead snake nest in the manure, and we thought we had told you about that, but I guess not." And I said, "No, you sure didn't tell me." So fortunately, I did not find the copperhead nest, and I was able to get all the manure shoveled out, and I proceeded to break off all the rotted wood because, well, I'm not going to take junk with me if I don't have to. So here's a picture of me getting ready to attempt to load this onto my trailer by myself. And let's just say it was an adventure. So I had a come along and basically just had to muscle it up onto the trailer. So I was able to get it up there, and it fit. So I don't remember how I got it off the trailer when I got home. I may have actually just hooked it onto something else, or I'm not too sure. But anyway, here it is on the side of my house in my work area as I'm trying to determine what I just got myself into with this manure spreader. Because as you know, I live in a neighborhood and have no need to spread any manure. So I started doing some research, and fortunately there really wasn't any parts that I needed. I didn't need this as a functional spreader, so the chain-driven belt system conveyor that's on the bottom, none of that was there, and I didn't plan on using it anyway. So I did keep the beaters and spreaders and augers in for a little bit, but ended up removing them so that we could load from the back to take kids on hay rides through the neighborhood. Hay, if that's what you want to call it. So here's the first step of the restoration. These are the original spoked wheels that were on it. Why I started with those, I don't know. And here they are in paint. I'm not too sure what that is in the garage. I think it's the Slant Dash B, which I'll do on another video. And here's the new tires that I got for it. And here we've at least got it into primer. So at some point I had gone through and removed all the paint and rust and scale, and there was actually quite a bit of grinding and cutting I had to do because the fasteners that they used to secure the wood planks to the bottom, had to grind all that stuff off. Again, here it is in primer. It's all tarped off, getting ready to shoot some green. And here it is in green. Here I've installed the new tires, and if you look at this, you might say that those tires are on backwards. However, any ground-driven equipment, so equipment that is operated by means of the wheels turning to make the apparatus work, the treads are on in this direction. So this spreader has a couple engagement levers that you can kind of see there in the front between the decals, and one of them is to engage the big auger that I don't see on the back there right now, and then the other one is for the two upper, I think they're called beaters. But so yeah, basically just as you pull it, it will engage these drive mechanisms to spin. Actually, I think one lever was for the auger and the beaters, and then the other one I think was for the chain conveyor drive system that was on the floor that, like I said, wasn't hooked up. So here it is, pretty much finished in paint, decals, and tires. It's just missing all the wood components. Here's my old John Deere H. I'll have another video on that one day as well, but used it to pull it out to the driveway to work on the wooden section of the spreader. Just a couple more shots of the spreader in the driveway. And here we are starting to install the wooden planks for the deck. Now I just went with pine because I'm not ever gonna, or I wasn't ever gonna put in manure in this. So I kind of went for the cheapest route possible. It's my kids helping me get the wood secured inside, all new hardware and fasteners. Now it looks pretty good with the plain wood. I had gone through many different ideas in my head of how I was going to finish this. I was going to stain it and then do some polyurethane, but I didn't quite think it would look good. So I thought on it for a little while and decided to go with green stain. Why not? I was pretty happy with the choice after it was done. And here's just a couple photos of the finished spreader behind the John Deere H in my photo op area. And I got a little video here coming up of me driving my wife and son through the neighborhood. But we ended up using this manure spreader on several occasions to go on little, I call them hay rides. We don't ever put hay in there, but they'd put blankets and pillows and stuff, and we'd drive around the neighborhood and just ride around. We had, I think at one point, about 12 or 15 kids from the neighborhood in there just cruising around. And this is just kind of a side-by-side shot of the before and after. So it was a pretty fun project. I had never done implements before. I love implements. You can go to tractor shows all day and see tractors, but to me I like the cool, quirky, ugly things, if you haven't learned yet. And I love implements and attachments, and those are usually the things that are lost to time. They sit on a fence row and get thrown away. Everyone saves dad's or grandpa's tractor, but they don't care about the implements, attachments, and manure spreaders, right? So they usually end up going to scrap. So I ended up selling this to my friend Brian. He had it for a while, and then he sold it to someone else. So hopefully it's somewhere getting enjoyed. But it's pretty neat. Different type of project. All right. Hopefully you like the John Deere manure spreader. Kind of something a little different and quirky, but I tell you what, we had a lot of fun taking the kids around the neighborhood and that. So stay tuned every Wednesday for the next few months. We're going to be doing our retro restoration series, and typically every Saturday we have our new weekly videos. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Make sure you don't miss anything. See you in the next one.